Okay. All right. Is that any better?
Speak again.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's way better.
Okay. Sweet.
Way better. All right, let me figure out these dynamics real quick. What we can do here.
I'm getting poor stream status. I don't know if you know anything about connecting OBS to YouTube.
You're on OBS?
Yeah. You think it might just be an internet thing, maybe?
Could be an internet thing. From my end, you seem good. It's not,
Gotcha.
You was a little bit shaky at first. My end, all was good, and the visuals are clear. So
okay. Yeah, I do get some shakiness every once in a while, but here, let me try one more time.
Hey, Tyga, how's the audio on my end? Is it crisp?
Oh yeah, you guys sound great. It's perfect.
All right, good. Should I turn Evan up? Does he Evan up? Does he need to be turned up?
He sounded good. Go ahead and say something just to make sure.
Hello?
Evan,
Hello?
or even.
Hello?
Yeah, that sounds pretty. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good.
All right,
great.
and
I can for my camera.
you see something for private chat if it's unlocked. 1 second.
Oh wait, yeah. Okay.
You see it?
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. It's like the message. Okay, yep, no,
The
okay,
message.
yep, I got you.
So write it.
Yep.
So write in there, because I'll go ahead and put you backstage sometime, as the conversation is just going. So it'd just be the screen of me and him, and then you can go ahead and write in. But I'll bring you up too. Like I'll just do it randomly and just pop you, here like back up and put you backstage. And if anything comes up where you need to be popped back up, since you're moderating it, you could just write in a private chat, and I'll just click one button and get you right up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like, okay, if I think you guys are getting too crazy with the interruptions, I just like send you a little thing in the little message in the private chat. Then you hit a button.
Yeah, I'll just hit one. I literally just click it and you pop up.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So it'll be something like that, and then when I bring you up,
Okay. All right.
it'll be like that. So what I'll do is I'll do that, then that, and then I could bring you right back up with this one
Nice.
and move you over there. Yeah, but we'll start it off like this. Any questions, Evan?
Nope. Everything should be good on my end. It took a second to figure it out, but everything should be good. So
You're good?
yeah.
All right. Cool. So we'll go ahead and start. I'll go ahead and start the stream. I'll do just quick introduction. I'll play the intro, and then when we come back, we'll just get started. And Tyga, you can go ahead and introduce the two of us. You can go ahead and let them know of the format of the debate: 4-minute opener, 4-minute closer.
Yeah. Okay, so let's before we do it, let me kind of like rehearse a little bit. I don't want to scuff it. So you're gonna play your normal intro.
Yep.
We're gonna be on screen. And are you gonna say some opening words, or do you want me to just like jump right in to be like, okay, you guys introduce yourselves?
I'll just say, welcome back to NoFugazeePodcast, and you'll say, hey, we got a debate today in regards to is the patriarchy necessary for society, and is feminism good for society? We'll go ahead and start the debate with 4-minute openers, 4-minute closers, and that's about it. Evan, since you're my guest, you want to go first or what?
Sure. Yeah, I don't mind. My opener is pretty short, but it's pretty concise. But
cool.
yeah.
Since you'll go first, then you'll have the ending closing statement. So the closing statement, you'll go last.
Okay.
That's normally how it works for decorum. Since you go first, you go last for the closing.
Sure.
Like meaning that you get the final word. Let me think of what else. Okay, that's about it. Tiger, you good?
Yep.
All right, cool. Welcome to NoFugazeePodcast. I'm your host, Cooley. Tonight is debate night. We got a special episode for y'all. Let's go. Podcast by the spirit, not by the letter. Bro, we can go verse for verse all day long. Doing things are okay with understanding the reality that we are in competition with one another. But you ladies think that you're special. You are in competition. Men are men of their word. So here's my word. I'll fly you out here and we can do it in person. And after that, we can box. I'm about my business. So remember I said, these questions, I will dismantle your entire argument. That's the end of the debate, my dog.
I'm 39, but I don't look your typical 39.
Belly.
Yeah.
You look 39. It's okay, though. That man isn't intimidated by a woman like you. He's annoyed by a woman like you. Because the man doesn't want to date another man. He wants to date a woman. We are currently live on YouTube and Facebook right now. We got Tiger, who will be moderating the debate tonight. Tiger, go ahead, man.
All right. First of all, thank you, Cooley, for allowing me the opportunity to moderate tonight. It's really, really kind of you. Also, Evan, thank you for coming out. I think it's going to be a fun and spirited debate. Let's start off with, introducing yourselves, plugging your channels, telling everybody where they can find you. How about that? So go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, my name is Evan James. I go by Evan James on all socials. I talk political commentary on TikTok, more recently YouTube and Twitch as well. I mostly do political analysis, especially analysis of Middle Eastern politics and foreign policy, but also I discuss gender and social related things as well. So I'm excited to do the debate today.
All right, cool. Thank you for that. Okay, Cooley, I know it's a little redundant since this is your channel, but go ahead and recognize the formality anyway and introduce yourself.
For sure. My name is David Cooley. I host NoFugazeePodcast, a debating podcast and a dating and relationship podcast. I do debates. I debate feminists. I debate many different religions. And then I also talk male and female intersexual dynamics with a panel of anywhere from 6 to 12 girls. So, yeah. Other than that, you can find me on all social platforms at NoFugazeePodcast, or just type in David Cooley and I come right up.
All right, sweet. Thank you, gentlemen, for the introductions. Let's move it into the opening statements now. I have the timer set for 4 minutes. And you said, who is it that we're gonna have? Should it?
Evan.
Okay. Yep. Sorry about that. Okay,
Evan. Go first. Yeah.
Right. Got you. Okay. All right. So, Evan, whenever you're ready, I'll hit the button.
All right. Yeah, I am ready. I am definitely going to take less than 4 minutes. So I would say that for the first, I think, the primary topic at hand, which was whether or not patriarchy is a necessary good, if that's what I understand the debate prompt to be. Patriarchy is neither necessary nor beneficial to human flourishing. Autonomy broadly, but specifically for women, has been a bedrock marker of societal development. Autonomy is a necessary precondition for individuals being liberated from the constraints of harmful and exploitative systems. By all relevant measures, societies that tend less towards patriarchal dominance over women tend to do better in reported human happiness, economic development, desired health outcomes, and relationship satisfaction. This is consistent with findings when narrowing the observations within the context of liberal democracies and evaluating long-lasting relationships within nations. Feminism is necessary as it seeks to ensure both men and women are enabled to actualize their potential and achieve fulfillment in all aspects of their lives, by principle, the antithesis of feminism that restricts feminism or that restricts women to the household violates the precondition of autonomy and does so on a false premise. This false premise is the idea that societies function better with rigid patriarchal norms and that men by their nature are entitled to freedoms that should not be afforded to women. And that is essentially it.
All right. Well, perfect. Thank you for that opening statement. Cooley, why don't you go ahead? Whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, go ahead.
All right. I take the affirmative position that the patriarchy is necessary and a necessary good for society. Without patriarchy, which provides a base system of hierarchy, you get anarchy, a state of disorder and non-recognition. My cursor just moved me up. Okay, there we go. Why did that happen? Okay, there we go. All right. So without patriarchy, which provides a base system of hierarchy, you get anarchy, a state of disorder and non-recognition of authority. Patriarchy simply means the rule of the father. And since men have the monopoly on enforcing law and order, appealing to anything outside of the patriarchy to bring about law and order is simply not possible. So is the patriarchy good? Yes, we need law and order. And for the bad ideas that some try to enforce, we need force to protect us from them. Feminism. Feminism is feminism good for society? I take the non-affirmative position that feminism is bad for society. The original goal of feminists who were part of the suffragettes movement in 1903, you can read their original writings in the book called Occult Feminism, where they explain that the nuclear family is oppressive and dangerous to women's liberation because it breeds a patriarchal system. We see how bad these ideas play out in modernity. 15.1 million children in the U.S. being raised by single mothers. That's 25% of all kids under the age of 18, which results in higher rates of emotional and behavior problems, substance abuse, school difficulties, and higher incarceration rates compared to children with both parents. We see the decline in marriage rates and the increase in divorce rates, with women initiating about 70 to 80% of divorces. We see the feminism and women's liberation with aborting 1 million babies per year. They are killing men's children. They are killing men's They are killing men's children. Stats show that 28% of Gen Z is not even here because of abortion. CDC reports show in 2024 we hit a record low in fertility rates, with 1.6 children being born per woman. But we need 2.1 children born per woman to maintain population levels. And that concludes my statement. I'll go ahead and ask the first question, if that's cool with Evan, since you went first.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Cool. So essentially, you said a few things there. So when it comes down to patriarchy and how you don't think it's necessary, and you used another word in your opener. What was it? It's not necessary, and what else?
Nor beneficial for human flourishing.
Nor beneficial for human flourishing. Okay,
Right.
So my first question for you is, since the patriarchy is not necessary and not beneficial, first I would ask, can you define patriarchy? Because you may just have a different definition than I do.
I would say patriarchy is largely going to be a system that centers male dominance and dominion over women. It's going to involve a system in which men hold the predominance of power in economic, social, and political realms of power. And we see that societies that tend towards more egalitarian forms and methods of organizing society actually tend to do better on all reasonable metrics that I think that even you would agree with, including that of family flourishment. And that is true within human society. So one thing you pointed to, I think, was the divorce rates, right? I would assume that you would want higher rates of marriage and lower divorce rates. Would that be a correct assumption?
Okay, you said you would assume that I want higher rates of marriage and lower divorce rates.
Right. Would that be correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay. And are you aware that divorce rates have been steadily declining since the 1970s and 80s?
You said, am I aware that divorce rates have been declining?
Yes, they've
since
been
the 1970s.
Since the late 1970s, early 1980s, divorce rates have been steadily declining. Even when you control for marriage, so even if you just look because the marriage rates have also declined, although they've spiked up within the last 5 years. Marriage, when you control for marriage, divorce rates are beginning to decline. Have actually begun to decline over the last several decades, and part of that is because people are getting married later. So if you look at the likelihood for divorce, those who get divorced or those who get married immediately after college around the age of 21, 20 are the most likely to get divorced, and you are the least likely to get divorced when you've actually done evaluation and learning who you are, something that feminists would agree with, which is around the age of 30. The age of 30 is the least likely predictor of a marriage, or is the predictor of how long a marriage is actually going to last. That's one primary predictor. And then you also brought up the fact that you mentioned that women initiate 70%. Sure. We can talk about that.
Because I just asked the question and you gave me an answer, and I kind of just wanted to hear your perspective.
Sure.
But when it comes to, you're saying that, I would want marriage rates to increase. I would want divorce rates to decrease. If we're speaking factual, since feminism came about, marriage rates, the rate of marriage decreased. It did not increase. So in the early 1900s, more men and women got married. I think the stats show around 92% of women got married, but now I think it's only around 32%. I may not be 100% accurate on that, but it's 90 to 30%. So yeah, marriage rates totally decreased when women were liberated and they had the mindset in the thinking process that they don't need a man and they can do and be independent women.
It wasn't a thinking process. Women prior in the era that you're referring to relied on men for an income. Now that they no longer rely on men for an income, men have to bring more to the table than just simply a paycheck. That's the reason why marriage rates have begun to decline. And then the divorce rate spiked up because people weren't choosing to get married out of love. They were choosing it out of economic and social necessity. Right. And so the reason why we're now seeing marriages decline.
I think that the divorce rate spiked due to things like no-fault divorce.
That is a huge part of it as well. Yeah.
Women did not have to give a reason. Prior to no-fault divorce, you had to give a reason in order to be divorced, a valid reason. No-fault divorce. I don't really love my husband anymore. I want to divorce him. But let's go back to my original question for you defining patriarchy.
Yeah.
You defined it in a way where it's it was very loose. Would you say that a patriarchal society is basically the rule of the father, so men in leadership positions?
Men in positions of power in economic, political, and social spaces.
And you said that you don't think that is beneficial, and you said that you don't think that it's necessary. And
correct.
I have a question for you.
We have societal examples of how it's not beneficial and not necessary. By the way, there's empirical examples. I'm going based off.
Okay, we'll get to it. I'll just ask you a regular question just to test the logic.
Sure.
If it's not necessary, if a patriarchal society is not necessary or beneficial, where do you get rights from? Where do rights come from?
Rights are mutually recognized concepts that we delineate out of legal structures. So in America, it would be via the Constitution, which is going to be interpreted by constitutional judges, and then it's going to be enacted via legislators like congressional representatives, senators, etc. And then it's going to be enforced by state-led organizations like the police. But none of this necessitates that it's all men in these sorts of positions. In fact, you can have...
Who enforces rights, man? Men or women collectively?
Neither gender
collective.
Neither gender. Wait, you just asked me a question. Let me answer the question.
You said neither gender enforces. Well, that's a lie.
No,
so,
who enforces rights?
That is a lie. So
police officers. Police officers enforce.
What you just said.
Let's chill it out with the interruptions.
Sure.
Fair enough. You made it very loose. You said that. Well, rights come from
That was not loose. Anybody who listening to what I just said can understand perfectly.
No, that was, I'll break it down for you. What you said was rights come from people agreeing on thing, and then we have to pass laws. And so basically rights is just a construction of the mind. That's what rights are.
I do agree that rights are a social construct.
So in order,
rights are a social construct.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So in order for this right, to come into reality, it must be enforced, or it just stays a construction of the mind. So, like, say if you construct something in your mind.
Not necessarily.
Let me finish.
Let's not
let me land my plane. Let me make my argument. So let's say if you and your friends construct something in your mind, and you say, "Oh yeah, we have rights to walk down this street," and your friends construct that in your mind, and then me and my friends come around and we beat you guys up. Do you still have that right to walk down the street?
If it's mutually recognized within the society around you, you'd still say you have the right. So this is one of the problems with international law, and one of the major critiques of international law, which I think is a fair critique.
You didn't answer the question.
I just said that yes, it would still exist within the context of the society around you.
How would it exist?
You're correct.
If me and my friends take your right away, take your right away to walk down that street.
Right. Yeah.
How would it exist? Besides in your head,
it wouldn't exist in practice. You're correct in that it would exist in people's minds, but it could also there could be other sorts of ramifications. So the example of international law is a good one, and I think a relevant one, right? We have no enforcement mechanism to enforce international law aside from specific states agreeing that they'll abide by it. But, like, for example, I would say Palestinians don't have a right to, they have a right not to be genocided.
No,
now,
we have the threat of force.
Our inability, but nobody.
I don't agree with what you just presupposed.
The UN does not have the threat of force on their side. Different states have the threat of force on their side, which in this case would be individual actors. So rights enforcement. Force. So what you just presupposed. I agree that rights enforcement are going to be a good necessary component to or order. Sure, that's valid, but that's not enforced by one gender or another. That's enforced by a collective organized body via the state.
Well, can women collectively enforce their own rights?
No gender can collectively enforce their own rights because genders don't operate in monolithic fashion. Men or women can collectively enforce their own rights. No gender collectively enforces their own rights. Rights are enforced via the state.
You want me to demonstrate this?
Rights are enforced via the state. Yeah, sure, demonstrate it.
Okay, so do you know the Taliban? The Taliban was, the U.S., we were over there, and, women had some rights in the Taliban over there when we were over there, when our military was there protecting them and giving them those rights. But it was funny because once we pulled our military from the Taliban, guess what? Women had no rights. So once American soldiers left the Taliban took all the rights from the women. And why is that? So this would refute your argument that, well, the only way rights can be upheld is if you have men to enforce those rights. So our military enforce women's rights that is not even in this country because we have more force than the Taliban. But once we left, the Taliban was like, oh, you thought you was going to school? You don't have to go to school no more. You don't have any rights to go to school. You don't have any rights to do this. So what are you speaking about? So please refute what I just said.
Okay.
And demonstrate it.
Yeah. So first of all, I love that you brought up the Taliban, because I think it's a perfect example of a society reverting back further in under patriarchal norms. And under your worldview, if you believe that patriarchy is a necessary and good thing, you would have to concede that you believe Afghanistan under the Taliban is actually a beneficial society than it was under a more feminist, liberated society. That's number one. Number two,
No,
the
wrong.
Taliban.
So
wait,
the
that's number two. I'm not done with my point. I'm not done with my point. I'm not done with my point.
We can go
I'm
with
not done
one
with my
first.
point. I'm not done with my point. No, wait. Let me just finish this one. Let me just finish my
Let's
second
stick
point.
with one, man, and let me refute this one. We don't have to go.
I let you have.
So I don't forget it.
I let you have plenty of talking time. Let me just quickly get to the second point. You can, and then you can.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let Evan land the plane.
Was I breaking up? I'm not sure if you guys are breaking up a little bit on my end, but I don't know if that's happening.
No, you were good.
Okay, good. So the second point I was going to say, which directly addresses the point that you're making, is that the Taliban is not men collectively in Afghanistan. The Taliban is a collection of men within Afghanistan. That is correct, but it actually reaffirms the point that I was making, because there are other political militant groups within Afghanistan that oppose the Taliban that are also made up of men. So men are not doing it collectively against women. It is a small group of men. It's not men as a collective.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So when you said that, to your first point, I believe you said that, basically, Cooley, this would refute your first point, because if you think that the patriarchy is a necessary good, then the Taliban is a prime example that it is bad, that it can be bad, right? When I say that the patriarchy is necessary, I mean that you can't live in a world without any world with any law and order. It doesn't exist without men, because men grant those laws and those rights for people to have. So it can be good. It can be a good law and a just. Let me finish my point. It can be a good law and a just law, or it can be something terrible and oppressive. That is true, but only men can enforce whatever concept you have in your head, whether if it's good or bad. You need men to enforce it, and that's the argument, which means that it is necessary.
Wait,
you get what I'm saying? Because if you come up with anything in your head,
but did you just concede that patriarchy
if you come up with anything in your head, no, wrong.
Is Afghanistan less or more patriarchal under the rule of the Taliban? Is Afghanistan less or more patriarchal under the rule of the Taliban?
I don't think you understand.
Can you answer the question?
I repeat. Yeah, I'll repeat it real quick. I already did answer the question. A patriarchy can be good. It can be good and it can be bad,
okay,
but it's
so it isn't necessary. So it's not a necessary good.
No, but it's ultimately necessary.
But it's not a necessary. Is the debate premise whether or not patriarchy is a necessary good? That is literally the debate prompt, and you just conceded that it's not necessarily a good thing.
The prompt is patriarchy necessary?
I got the DM that said is patriarchy a necessary good? So maybe that's my bad. I'm still willing to debate
is patriarchy necessary? And it can be a necessary good for society, but it's always necessary.
But it's not necessarily good. Why is it always necessary?
It's always.
So wait, let me ask you.
It's always necessary because you can't have a world. Well, let me answer your question.
Sure.
You can't have a world with law and order without a patriarchy. If a world without law and order is anarchy. So when I say that a patriarchy is necessary, I can say that it's necessary good, because without a patriarchy and law and order, you get anarchy. So you need a patriarchy, and it can be a necessary good. That's my argument. So it's inherent in our reality. You can't look at any type of world with any type of systems and giving law and order and giving rights to people with void of a patriarchy. If you can, please explain to me how. That's my first question.
Yeah,
where do rights come from? How can you get your rights without a patriarchal society without a patriarchal system giving you those rights.
You haven't demonstrated that right enforcement necessarily entails a patriarchal enforcement, right? Theoretically, let me ask you a question. If society,
okay, so
let me ask you a question. Come on, why are you interrupting me? I just let you speak.
Men?
I just let you speak. Let me ask you a question.
Well, no, you just asked the question. How can you get any type of order or any type of right or any type of law? How can you get that without the enforcement of men?
You need like the enforcement of a collection of men is included, but that doesn't entail patriarchy. That doesn't entail patriarchy.
Yes,
like I mentioned, that does not. No, it doesn't.
That is what it entails.
It does not entail by definition. I'm about to demonstrate it. So if women held if women held all positions of economic and political power, if women made up the entirety of the congressional legislature, all of the Senate, if they filled the entire executive branch, every single member of the executive branch, if they fulfilled every single judge that interprets the laws and interprets rights, and then created rights, if they filled every single member in position of political power, according to you, because the men that they command around to enforce the rights and the laws that they're creating, you think that means that it's still a patriarchal system?
No, you got to confuse. Even if women hold it, every system in, in the legislation,
you would still call that a patriarchy because they're commanding men to enforce it?
You have my entire argument wrong. You have it all wrong. Even if women held every position of power, women still appeal to men to enforce any type of idea that they have in their head. Do you get it?
They're not appealing to men as a collective.
Stop it.
It's a cute little game that you're playing.
You are appealing to the men that's in position.
But it's a semantic game that you're playing.
You are appealing to the men that's in position.
They're
so
appealing
what I'm saying
to a
is,
collection
it's
of
very
men.
simple.
I'll give you an example.
It's very simple. I'll explain it. Real quick. Sure. I don't think you're understanding. So let me restate the position because you're like straw manning my position. Okay. So listen. It's very simple. Women can't give if you have an idea in your mind, in order to have this idea, even on an individual basis, I have to enforce it. If it's just me and you in a room and I say, you know what? No more talking. And you say, well, I'm going to continue to talk. And I say, you talk again, I'm punching you in your mouth. It's going to come down to me and you squabbling. And the winner creates the rights. I'll beat you up. Now I say no more talking. So now you got to appeal to me. If not, I'm going to continue to beat you up. That's how it goes. So if even on an individual level, if we put this on a macro level, stop it.
You're not demonstrating how it's
listen,
men as a
listen.
collective.
I'm doing it now. You just cut me off. You're not trying to. You're listening to respond. You're not listening to understand. It's very simple. Even on a macro level, if you move it from an individual level to a societal level, if women or even men have any idea in their mind, guess what? They still men need to appeal to other men to have whatever their idea in their mind is to be enforced. Women, they can only appeal to men. That's the difference. Women can't appeal to other women to enforce their rights. Do you know of any chick that can appeal to a group of women be like, oh yeah, we're gonna have some rights without other men coming in and taking those rights from them? That's the distinction. The distinction is patriarchy is necessary because women can't enforce any rights. Only men can. That's the distinction.
In practice, what mechanism do we use to enforce rights here in America?
Men.
Be specific. What institution?
That is very specific.
What institution?
What do you mean?
Okay, so you think I'm out there enforcing rights? Are you out there? Is Tyga?
Police.
Is he out there?
Military.
Okay.
Police,
thank you.
There you go.
Police and our military. Okay, thank you. Wait. Thank you.
The majority
of them are men. What is the other? What is the other part of that equation?
We don't need them. Those women.
It doesn't matter whether or not we need them. It doesn't matter whether or not we need them. We appeal to them, and given the fact that societies, we do appeal to them. ma'am.
Women
If you are
just
face to
got
face
in
with
the
a
military.
female
Women
police
just got
officer,
the right
I'm sorry. If you
to
are,
go into the
if you
military,
are, if
just
you,
a few
it
years
doesn't
ago.
matter. It doesn't matter how long it's taken.
What was it?
If
2 decades ago, maybe.
If you,
So what are you
if
speaking
you
about?
are face to face with a female police officer, she's going to be the authority in the situation. And also now, like the modern age, we have the great equalizer. We have the fucking
What do we
Glock.
have?
We have the Glock.
We got the Glock.
We got the M16.
Do
We
you
got
know-
any and all of these great equalizing weapons. If
Do you
a
think that do you
if a
think that
woman is a
generally
part,
woman can
if
use
a woman
the
is,
Glock as good as a man can.
if they're in the maybe not as good, but if they're in the police academy, or if they're in the military in some sort of combat
answer
role,
that question.
they're going to be in a position where they're
Yes
going to
or
be
no?
they're going to be able to use it better than most men who aren't trained for it. That's for sure.
No, yes or no. Do you think that
Not
women are
most men
as
who
capable
aren't trained
to use a Glock
I'm not-
as good as a man can?
It's this silly semantic game where we're not talking about the collective of men. It's not like, oh, if it was boys versus girls, who would win in a fight? That's
No,
literally
I'm asking
that's
you
how
about,
juvenile
no, I'm asking
this
you about
argument
police.
is.
It's specific about police.
Because rights enforcements
Yeah.
are done via via an organization within the
All right,
state,
so-
and that
okay,
organization
answer
is
this directly. I just wanna
comprised
see
of
if you're
both
living in
men
reality.
and women. That is how rights
Out
enforcement
of our
works.
police force, in our police force, right? Who do you think is more equipped to handle a Glock? The men in the police force or the women in the police force? Who's more equipped?
Probably the men, but the women would be sufficiently enough capable in
probably
which
the men.
they would be able to handle themselves in
do you know that
a
there has
situation
been-
with an everyday citizen. For
You think so?
and it's
Why
also,
is
but
it
this
when
is
women,
is so
why
besides
is
the
it?
point.
Let me finish
This
my
is so
point. Why
besides
is
the
it
point.
that women police?
Yeah,
why is it
yeah.
that? Okay,
I
why
was
is
gonna
it?
say, well, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You could go ahead. Tiger,
Yeah,
go
maybe
ahead.
let Evan finish his thought, and then you can you go ahead after that.
No, I mean, this argument to me is very silly because it just doesn't have anything to do with patriarchy. Because according to Cooley's definition of patriarchy, if women held all positions of economic and political power, because we need men in the police force, still it would technically be a patriarchy. Nobody defines or has an idea of that's what patriarchy means, and that's not what feminists
That isn't
agree.
what I said.
That's not what feminists. Okay, so would you say that in
You straw man in my position.
Okay, then I don't know what you mean by patriarchy when you're defining it as rights enforcement, when that has nothing to do with patriarchy. If you want to defend patriarchy as being necessary, you actually have to demonstrate that men holding a predominance of power in political and economic
It's very
society
simple. I'll
is
explain it to you
necessary,
again.
and you
I'm
can't
making
do
a
that
clear
empirically.
distinction.
You can't do that empirically
Yeah.
because states that
okay,
are the most egalitarian rank the best when it comes to measurements, and this is why empirics are so fucking important when it comes
No,
to
that's a
when it
lie.
comes to actual measurement. It's not a lie. We can graph life satisfaction on a scale, and we can take states even within liberal democracies, so excluding states like Afghanistan. When you graph it on a scale, even among liberal democracies, countries that are more egalitarian and take more of an effort to ensure that women's participation in their political framework and their economic framework are better off, economically speaking, and in terms of just
Birth
life
rates
satisfaction.
decrease. Okay, so listen.
Birth rates
What you
decrease
just- stop it,
because of
listen,
economic development.
Stop. No.
And because of teen pregnancy decreasing.
Got it. What you just proposed was countries that are more egalitarian. It's better for society. That's what you think is better.
Well,
I'll show. It's better
I'll
when
show you
it
measurements.
destroys. Okay, let me finish my point. I don't think that it's better when you see that birth rates decrease, when you see that divorce rates increase, when you see that it's so many other things. Since there's a single mother, thing that's going on, there's more degeneracy in society
Do you
because women aren't staying with the men. So you see the destruction of the nuclear family. The nuclear family totally gets destroyed when the indoctrination of feminism is about. So what you're saying that's good, that's just not my definition of good. Do you think that? Real quick, do you think that the nuclear family is a good thing? Do you think that we should try to strive towards the nuclear family?
No, because the nuclear family would have women prioritize having children and staying at home. And what we actually see from the data is that
women always worked.
Stay at
That's
home.
That's just not true.
Okay, so you like women in the workplace as a
no.
Okay, so what we see.
Where did you get that from? What I just said. What I'm saying is, even prior to
I'm asking,
women being in the workforce, women always had little jobs. They always did little secretary work. They always had little daycares. They did little things to get money.
Okay, so do you think does the nuclear and
even when it comes to finances,
does the nuclear and family involve a woman working?
What I'm saying is women wasn't obligated to be in the workforce. And now women are basically, if you're going to go ahead and get a college degree, you're going to incur a lot of debt. You got no choice but to work. It's no choice but to work. If you get a college degree, you acquire all of this debt.
Yeah,
or you gotta get a man and get married and get that man to pay off that debt. But these women don't want to get married. So back to my original question.
Wait. I need to get to these points.
That the nuclear family is good for society?
Yes, I will. But do you define a nuclear family as the woman is the woman working in a nuclear family?
Man, woman in the home, children. Men and women.
So women in the home, not working, not getting a college education, right?
She's not prioritizing. She's not prioritizing her career over family.
And would you say the nuclear family also involves getting married at a young age, like early 20s?
I mean, that doesn't, traditionally,
it's not a
that's what it
component.
was, but a nuclear family doesn't have to be getting married at a young age. As long as there's a woman and a man in a relationship, they have children, that is a nuclear family. Traditionally, they got married, much younger.
So I will answer your question. No, women... So stay-at-home mothers who do not work have about 5 times greater likelihood of poverty than women who participate in the workforce. In fact, a plurality of women who are stay-at-home mothers want at least some form of part-time work. Maternal education, meaning women who have college degrees, are far more likely to be associated with positive cognitive and behavioral outcomes for their children. So basically what I'm trying to say is that even among those who are doing families, the traditional family of a woman not getting an education and not having a career whatsoever and just getting married immediately after high school, the traditional role, that's leading to actually worse divorce rates and less favorable outcomes for the children. So I do not believe
your own statement. It was circular. I'll explain how you debunked it yourself. So you said that you do not think the nuclear family is good for society. You said that you don't think it's good.
Under your definition, yeah.
Under my definition.
Right.
Then you give examples of single women doing you just gave examples of women that pursue higher education and pursue a career doing better than single women. That's the example you just gave.
It wasn't single women. It was stay-at-home mothers where the husband is working. This is out of Pew Research.
Okay, so you gave a stat that said independent women that give that seek higher education.
That doesn't mean
and get a career.
Doesn't mean independent. So I did 2 points. I can explain them to you.
Well, if they don't have a family, then they're independent. That's what I'm saying. They're single. They're single. They don't have a family.
So both of these are family-related stats. So the first one is going to be stay-at-home mothers where the husband is in the workforce, right? So stay-at-home mothers where the husband is in the workforce are 5 times more likely to be in poverty. That's 15% compared to 3% versus
both
a
women and
the man
father working at the same time.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And then,
got it.
And then the other thing I provided was maternal education. So that means after a woman already has achieved education and had a career, then they go on to become a mother. That elicits better outcomes for their children cognitively and behaviorally. So women who actually get an education,
question for this stat that you're given, does it show the age range of these women? Like these women being married and and working, and their husband is working.
So
how old are they?
So it's a systematic review and a meta-analysis, which means it compiles a ton of different research papers together and then evaluates them. So it's not going to be one specific paper.
It doesn't break down to the specifics.
Not that one, no.
Bro,
I mean,
what study is this? Can I have a link to it? Because
Sure.
it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, sure.
How does it not make,
you could send it
sense?
You could just send it in a private chat real quick. If you see it.
Sure.
You see it?
You want me to? Yeah, but would you want me to?
I just said yo.
Oh, in the private chat there. Okay, yeah. Give me 1 second.
So, and while you're sending it, basically using this as an example, you're stating that, well, coolly, well, women that are working, women that are staying at home and the man is out there working, they experience more poverty than when it's both parents working. Well, that would logically just make sense. Like, okay, if you have two people working rather than one person working, then obviously they're gonna have more income because two income point. Unless the man is making buku money, you know what I mean? So that makes sense. The other parts that you alluded to when you started speaking about the benefits of it, I wanted to hear that because, well, how would the child benefit at its younger years if the mother and the father is working? That means that the child would have to be off somewhere at daycare and some random person is, teaching and watching the child. So that correlation wouldn't even make sense to, well, yeah, it would allow time for the mother to get the education and she becomes more wise. Well, that would make sense, but then I need to know what age these women are.
Sure. So,
I need to know what age. Like if they're 35 years old, it's like,
the second one.
Well,
the second one that I pulled up was the meta-analysis, and then the other
Did
one
you send it?
Is just a paper. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to see what you were saying here.
But this is not even actually controversial.
Here.
If you just look up maternal education outcomes children, it is like all over the place. And it makes sense, right?
About
do we really think
education,
like,
it doesn't actually make sense, and I'll explain how it doesn't make sense because if someone is raising a child, I have children, so I can explain.
Okay, it doesn't. That's a personal anecdote. Yeah, I know. But so anecdotally, you think high school graduate mothers are doing better off for their children than like college graduate mothers? Anecdotally, really intuitively speaking, you think people who got a high school education or less are usually having
even when I'm looking at the study here,
it
has. Even when I'm looking at this study here, the funny thing is it has the imprints of little fingers of feminism written all over it, meaning that this what happens here when you're looking at stats. Some stats are created too. They don't really give. They give all of these assumptions. This is what I'm trying to get down to what they presuppose. This stat doesn't. This stat right here that I'm looking at it on my screen.
I don't even know.
I
don't even know why
else.
You would just ask for the data if you're just going to ignore it or like reject it outright.
No, because I've just looked at it and it didn't give any type of breakdowns of the age of the women or anything like that. So this is just dumb because one, if it's the age of the woman and it's a high risk pregnancy, some of these kids could even have Down syndrome. Okay. Some of these kids could have certain birth defects. So what is this even getting at? They can probably only produce one. This household can probably only produce one child because she's already 42 years old. So this information isn't giving me anything. Let me land my plane, bro.
Do you know what a systematic review and a meta-analysis is?
Let me land my plane.
Yeah,
Speaking while I'm speaking, let me just land my plane. Just by me looking at it, I was looking for more information from this because you wasn't giving it. And when I'm looking at it here, it's not giving any other information either. So the only information that you gave is all you can give. This is why you can't really answer my question. So I'll ask the question again, right? So how is it beneficial for a child living in a home with both parents working in their younger years? The mother has to be off at work. She can't even breastfeed her child. The child has to drink Similac versus the other where the mother is home, she's nurturing the child, she's breastfeeding the child, she's teaching the child at the younger years. She knows exactly where her child is. There's no bad touch at little daycares going on. You get what I'm saying? How is this better, which this stat doesn't show at all? How is this better than the other system that we're speaking about, where there's a man working and the woman at home? How is it better for the child?
It's a false dichotomy because you can advocate.
It isn't false.
It is a false dichotomy. Let me explain.
Explain.
Because we
Go ahead.
have something called paid maternity leave, paid paternity leave, paid family leave, subsidized childcare, which all exist.
That's only for
which
6
all
months.
exist. Yeah, well, and not in other countries. This is why it is important to advocate for pro-family economic policies, and this is exactly what is happening in the Nordic countries, where they have good outcomes for their children, for the society at large. They have good outcomes because they prioritize. So for I think a lot of the Nordic model countries, a lot of them, you can either do, even when, if you decide to stay home, you can take a stipend from the government, or you can opt, if you want to continue working, and you can do,
I know about all of this. And all of this gets debunked with everything that you just said. So think about the system we had prior to it. Think about the system we had prior to it,
Right.
with women not being liberated to the degree where they can just not even barely work, and they can have OnlyFans, and they're prioritizing a career in their makeup and Instagram photos rather than family and children. Remember that world. I don't know if you remember, if you just read some history books, you would see that we actually didn't need a 2-income family. Society was constructed in a way where we did good with just 1-income family. And what I'm saying
Do you
is
want me to
the
explain why that
indoctrination of
happened?
feminism. I can explain why it happened.
Why did it
so
happen?
it happened. What'd you say?
Why did it happen?
Yeah, so when we're speaking about feminism, and we're speaking about the suffragettes and their influence on let's say non-governmental organizations like Rockefeller and Abby Rockefeller, where she played a huge part in second wave feminism, which she gave money to second wave feminism, which is women's liberation. Yeah, go in the workforce. You don't need a man. Seek higher education. You can do bad all by yourself. This was all indoctrination to, instead of, think about the industrialist, right? Instead of having one person in the home working for our company, we can have 2 people in the home working for our company. This will double our productivity. This what it was for. It was all for materialism. It's not rooted in anything good. So even the baseline, the idea of feminism was all for materialism. What the suffragettes and their movement was all about, it was to dismantle the nuclear family, and you are indoctrinated by it. This is why you think that the nuclear family isn't good. The little things that you're harping about, well, the nuclear family, it isn't positive there, it isn't positive. The nuclear family is great for children, and guess what? If women wasn't in the workforce, we wouldn't have built a society where we actually need both people to work now. Currently in a society,
It's not true. I can explain.
Generally
it. I can explain
speaking,
it. Are you done?
okay,
Can I explain why we no longer rely on one income?
Real quick, you are trying to say what I said was non-factual.
Okay. Yes. But it's yeah,
Okay.
because you provided
what point
zero.
is non-factual?
Yeah, well, it's not anything that you like did say, because I don't know, you told like a fancy story, I guess. It was more so what you left
Okay.
out. You left
Do you
out,
know that story is true, though?
You left out all of the economic history and economic policy in the history of the United States. So I'll explain. Number one, the Reagan and Carter administration broke apart the ability for unions to get labor bargaining power in the workplace. That contributed to the decrease in wage. The era of neoliberalism and free trade also contributed to the deindustrialization of the United States, where manufacturing left overseas. That created a sector in which we now know as the FIRE sector, which is finance, insurance, and real estate. And when America becomes more dependent economically on a finance system and the financialization of our economy, but this is important.
Okay.
This is important. This
I get it, but real
contributes
quick,
to a cost in the rise. A cost in the rise. Wait, no, I'm not making a correlation. These are not. These are directly related to why wage stagnation has occurred in the United States. It doesn't have to do with
that's
women
not the
entering the
argument.
workworse.
So that's what I wanted you to.
Wait. Let me just finish. Let me finish, dude. I let you go on such a tangent, bro. I let you go on such a tangent. Yes, I know, but that is one part of it.
Real quick.
No,
I don't want you to just go off of it.
That's what I literally let you do.
Saying,
I didn't want to interrupt you, so I just let you go on. If you don't want to have if you want to have more of a back and forth, then we can do more of a dialogue. But you just went on a whole long tangent. Just let me land the plane. Come on. So you don't want me to get into the history of why we have wage stagnation.
If you take women, though,
you're saying that feminism is the reason why we have wage stagnation and the reason why we no longer rely on just one simple income and the reason why we have to rely on two incomes. I'm saying that wage stagnation and the cost of living is because of the deindustrialization of America and the financialization of our economy. That is two things. A few other things. The reason why the cost of living was so great in the 1950s was because of the GI Bill. It functioned as a large welfare state for the people. This is why in countries where we have economic participation of women, they didn't have to just kick women out of the workforce. In these models, like the Nordic nations, they have a robust, sophisticated social safety net and welfare system and high rates of unionization. It is that simple.
Okay, so what do you think is a stronger correlate? What you just proposed, which is, I know information on that with the GI and all of that, with the union workers. Yeah, that makes sense. That is a correlate to,
It's not a correlate, it's causal.
No. That's a correlate.
No,
right?
we have very specific data on how unions affect wages.
Got it. What do you think is a stronger? No, it's a. What do you think is a stronger correlation to wages? Wages going up. What do you think is a stronger correlation to wages going up? And not only that, because we're speaking about multiple things right now, but wages going up and also the destruction of the nuclear family, because that's what we're speaking about. I don't want you to get it off of that. This is why I wanted you to, if you're going to correlate something, correlate it towards the destruction of the nuclear family and wages going up. So half of the population in the workforce, or pretty much almost basically 100% of the population in the workforce, men and women.
Wait, can you repeat the question?
What do you think is so what do you think is a stronger correlate? What you propose, like the GI Bill, what you propose, like the union workers, et cetera.
The deindustrialization of the entire U.S. economy.
At one point we had pretty much the majority of the workers were men, and then it doubled.
Yeah. So the stronger.
What is a stronger correlation?
So it didn't double overnight. It went up and women's participation.
No one said it doubled overnight.
I know. I'm just making sure. It took some time. Just making sure we're clear.
Yeah.
So women's participation in the workforce is not a stronger correlate, and I'll tell you why. If you look at unionization today, even unionization when you look at industry-specific levels or you look at area-specific levels, you see stronger and higher wages. And this is also why it is such a big deal.
So let's break it down.
I'll demonstrate it logically.
Demonstrate it logically.
So unions, organized workplaces have higher bargaining power with the capitalists because So you admit that they have higher bargaining power to negotiate higher wages, right?
Union workers, but not all of the society is union. Some people are union workers.
No, but union.
This
is actually a good point. Unionization actually increases wages, even for sectors and jobs around states and localities that have high rates of unionization.
They need to compete.
Exactly. So high rates of unionization. It's in part that, and then also the having manufacturing jobs where goods are created in the United States rather than like the financialization of the United States also contributes to basically.
I have no
rise in the cost of
refutations for any of that.
Sure,
I just want to know how you can explain how it's a stronger. How does that explain and demonstrate how it's a stronger correlation to another half of the population being put into the workforce? Yeah. So meaning listen to the logic.
Because you're saying, oh, this graph goes this way over time, and this graph goes the other way over time. No. I'm saying that if you look at it from a city specific level or a sector specific level, you get these same correlates. You can't demonstrate that when it comes to gender.
Let me give you my argument.
Because wage stagnation,
logically speaking.
Wage stagnation.
Okay, great.
Wait, has wage stagnation?
You still speaking, man. You don't even hear my argument. Now you're just
sure. But
you're
has
just prattling, bro. You're just prattling.
Has wage
stagnation? You're just prattling, bro.
Okay, fine. Go.
You're prattling. Let me give you my argument back to it.
Go.
You just said something, and it's okay. We know that, with union workers, they're bargaining for higher rates. So, yeah, there's other companies around that's going to compete. That's natural. These things are natural, right? So it creates competition. Oh, union workers are getting $15 an hour. Oh, okay. Well, we got to go ahead and increase ours up from, instead of $8 an hour, going to get it up to 12. At least we get some people. And, the union workers, they need certain qualifications, but we're not going to have those qualifications. So this would still, get people in our company to still work here. We know how things work, right? I'm asking from you, which is a stronger correlate to wages increasing.
Yeah. And I am saying that.
Okay, now listen to this. I'm sorry, not wages increasing, wages for wages decreasing. I'm sorry, wages decreasing. So when you get more people, a bigger population of the people in the workforce, then okay, well, if it's 50 employees that I have working at my company, they're all men. We're paying them good. But now, guess what? We can get more people in to work for the company. We can get Gary and his wife. We can get Kyle and his wife. So then we have more people. And when there's more people in the company, what do you think happens to wages? Wages would decrease. That will be a stronger correlate to wages decreasing. We're not speaking about increasing. We're speaking about wages decreasing. Wages decreasing. This is why this topic that we're speaking about, when you said, well, Cooley, guess what? A 2-parent household with the man and the woman working does better than working. I'm saying, well, currently, yeah, because we actually don't have a choice. Generally speaking, most people don't have the choice. Both sexes have to work. But prior to feminism, both parties didn't have to work because the wages was higher for one person. That's a stronger correlate. You have more people in a workforce, you get to pay them less. You have less people in a workforce, you get to pay them more. You are dumb. That's the strongest correlate, bro. You're just prattling. You're not giving any good argument. We know about the union.
Can I fucking respond, dude? It's just not fun,
bro. You're speaking to someone that
I'm literally just like laying back because you're rattling off on these tangents. I have a response to all this.
It's not a tangent.
It is. It absolutely is a tangent. I had a question like I'm literally trying to.
Okay.
I had a question like 3 minutes ago.
Go ahead.
Wage stagnation.
Give me your question.
Wage stagnation.
Ask your question.
Guess what? I don't even need to ask the question. I'll just give you the answer. Wage stagnation exists in sectors that women have not entered in higher rates. Even in sectors where men dominate, wage stagnation still exists. And I'll give you one better. What is a more realistic proposal? Getting half of the workforce that is currently in the workforce out of the workforce? That would result in a recession. I'm just saying, how do we go forward from here? If you want to improve wages for people, a more realistic and actual policy solution. Dude, I didn't even ask a question. I've just said if you want to.
You just asked a question.
No, I didn't. I did not ask a question.
Tyga, did he not ask a question?
If I did, it was rhetorical. But let me finish. A more realistic.
Okay, yeah, land your plane, then coolly respond.
Okay. A far more realistic solution to wage stagnation is beneficial economic policy, and that's going to come with labor union protections. Who's at the head of the NLRB? It's also going to come via progressive taxation and a more robust welfare system, and it's also going to come from basically separating companies, ensuring that monopolies don't exist and wealth is continuously concentrated at the top. That is a more realistic and what actual economists agree. No economist realistically agrees with the notion that we should have women work less to raise wages. That's ridiculous, absurd. And if any economist,
that's not
if
what
any
I
economist was
proposed,
okay, I didn't say that's what you proposed. The implication though is
So
that
then you're just prattling right now.
well, the implication that you're making is like, after the women came into workplace, that's why wages fell. No, if you take a more,
Bro,
if you take, dude, this is exactly
just-
what you did. This is exactly what you did the entire time. I just sit back and
No,
I
didn't.
let
You
you
want me to
rattle
give you
on,
my argument?
and then you don't let me okay, yeah, go for it, yeah, for sure.
No, but you're making an
to be
argument
fair,
for something that I didn't make.
Let's let Evan go on his long diatribes too. You both have been doing,
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you, Tyler.
Evan, essentially, you made an argument that I didn't make, though, right? So you said that, no economist is ever going to agree that we should just, remove women from the workforce. Our economy would crash. What do you mean? Like, no one would suggest that. So, this is why I said that you're just prattling, and it has nothing to do with my argument because I've never said that, right? But anyways, what I would propose is the same thing like feminism proposes, which is all, a lot of propaganda. It's all influence based. These chicks got their rights based off of influencing men. That's all it came from. It came from chicks influencing men and NGOs pushing forth money, which are that has the feminist ideas pushing these things out to get rights. Chicks couldn't get these rights themselves. They couldn't enforce this themselves. No women, there's not any collective group of women that can enforce their own rights. It takes men. They all have to appeal to men to enforce the rights for them. So when we're getting back on the argument,
it's not true that.
Okay, you're cutting me off now.
Okay, but if you want to have a back and forth.
So if it's not, that's fine. If it's not true, how can women get their own rights enforced void of men?
So that question isn't related to what I just said wasn't true. What's not true, the idea that
what did you say what's not true?
Yeah, so the idea that feminism and women fighting for and achieving rights was just something that they convinced men of is not true. Some of the most influential thinkers who were men of both the founding of America, so you have people like John Stuart Mill, were feminists and believed in women's rights. And then even contemporary philosophers like John Rawls, or even on the right, like Robert Nozick, they weren't convinced by women, though. They were convinced by logic and reason and understanding women's humanity. What you said was that women got their rights from just convincing men. And I'm saying that influential thinkers...
That's not all I said.
Sure, but that's okay for sure. But yeah, I think the Enlightenment era taught us a lot about the nature of other human beings, and understanding that women are also a part of what we would consider equal human beings is why we've gotten things like feminism. It was the logical conclusion of Enlightenment rights.
You think that the logical, and what do you mean by Enlightenment rights? What do you mean by that?
Individual rights. So liberties like freedom of speech. Everyone gets a right to participate in the political system, like voting or running for Congress. Rights that are pretty essential to most liberal democracies. Mostly negative rights, but also rights of democracy. These are all things that came about.
Yeah, but this country wasn't built on that. America wasn't built on liberal rights. What do you mean?
John Locke and are you kidding me? John Locke and John Stuart Mill were the most influential philosophers to our founding fathers. Both are literally the definition of liberal thinkers.
That's not what I said. I said this country wasn't found on like liberal rights, like giving people rights. Like, what do you mean? Like, there was a whole sector of people that looked like me that didn't have any rights. They were enslaved, and women didn't have rights anyway for the longest. What are you speaking about?
So I agree.
This country was not built off of some enlightenment and let's all be fair and equal and egalitarianism. No, this country wasn't built off of that. Men didn't even have the right to vote. You had to have some stake in the game. You just couldn't vote because you were a man either. So you're speaking nonsense. Let me
wait. I agree with you in part, right? I agree that their application of rights was hypocritical, but the idea even the notion of like democracy and freedom of speech and other rights that were, exercised, again, very inconsistently across groups, and we would agree with that. That in and of itself, though, was very progressive relative to the kings, monarchs, and queens that were existing prior, and that was influenced in large part by these liberal philosophers and liberal thinkers.
That's much different than the ideology of feminism, though. That's much different than the ideology of feminism. Feminism is the promotion and the thinking of egalitarianism, that men and women are equal. And that's what you believe, that men and women are equal. So, and maybe this would tie hand in hand, because I wanted to ask you this question, because the only thing I see that you debated Candace Owens. And one of the things that you said when you debated Candace Owens about this topic here, you said that social pressure, when you debated Candace Owens, you said the reason we live in a patriarchy is because of social pressures. Is that correct?
That is not what I said.
That's not correct. What you to, like, the reason why we have a patriarchal society is because people were pretty much men were influenced to take on certain roles. So you don't think that it's inherent. So give me your argument towards that.
Yeah, so the discussion that I was having with Candace Owens when it came to social pressures is Candace was suggesting that the reason why, so it's tangentially related, but it's not exactly what I said. So Candace was arguing that because women are in the predominance of political and economic positions of power, like they're overwhelmingly the CEO and board members of these specific companies. She was
saying that they're a matriarchy, right?
Well, yeah, she was saying that, but then she, when I brought up the fact that I don't think we live in a matriarchy, we live in a patriarchy, which I think you would even agree with. And I brought up the fact that they're in all these positions of power. She said that it's because men and women just have innate proclivities to basically wanting different desires in work or whatever. And what I was saying is that social pressures have played such a large role, and we know this because prior, in like just a couple hundred years ago, we didn't think that it was a woman's role to be educated or to even be logical or rational. Now today, a majority of law school graduates are women. That shows, and logic is like one of the quintessential skills you need to pass the LSAT. So that shows that our priors on that, of assuming that women are just biologically designed to be illogical or irrational, was showed to be failed. And because women are increasingly making gains in important sectors of the economy and within politics as well, that shows that when social pressures change, people's interests in what sort of careers they want to hold actually change now too. Yeah, can change.
So then my question for you is, and that's you pretty much said that. So social pressures. So when you said that, when I heard that, let me ask you this: were you then making a correlate to the patriarchy? Like, the reason we live in a patriarchy is social pressures. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think that it's obvious to me.
Is it?
Once again, looking at more egalitarian nations that have, I mean, I would still maybe say there are some patriarchal norms in like a country like Iceland, but they've, for the most part, eradicated any sort of rigid patriarchal expectations. So clearly,
then my other question is so there's social pressures which influence the patriarchy, social pressures which influence women. This is why, higher education and XYZ, social pressures. My question is, do you think it's only social pressures to why we live in a patriarchy, or no? Like, is there anything that's innate biologically of like why men are in leadership positions?
There may be like some things on the tail end. So I know, for example, that like men on average just scale better when it comes to the like bell curves. There are more men on like both extremes of a bell curve. So for example, you're gonna see more extremely intelligent men, and you're also gonna see more extremely unintelligent men. Yeah. And whereas women are more flattened out. So it may be the case that like in certain sectors and I would assume that even like things like testosterone may play some role in personality decision making. Like I don't think it would be crazy to suggest that like men are gonna maybe want to do combat sports more or something like that. So, but on aggregate, I think that for the most part things are socially constructed. And what I would say is that the social pressures are still there enough to a degree that we should still work against
So you said on. Okay, I got you. So fair enough. You said that. Well, yeah, cool. There are some biological things like testosterone, but the majority of why we lean towards more of a patriarchal society is because of social pressures. Sure. That's where the majority of the push is coming from. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, here's another question for you then, because that doesn't really make sense. And actually, before I ask my question, maybe I'll just give a rebuttal to that. Because when you look at it, the genders physically are, different night and day. And when we're speaking about the patriarchy is, once again, men in leadership positions. Not only men in leadership positions, but in order for us to even have a safe society, we need men to protect us from, the bad guys, to protect our society. And the majority of the people that protect us, they have to be men. They have to be men. If not, we're not going to be protected.
Would you say those are leadership positions? I don't think
so
police officers are in leadership positions.
Well, let me finish. When I'm different things, positions, I'm speaking about protection, and I'm speaking about other positions in the hierarchy as far as governments and stuff like that, officials and legislation pass. If you have an idea and you want to get this law passed, the majority of the people that's in power right now, like when you had that debate with Candace Owens, they are men, right? Now, this can all change, and I can grant it. We can say that, well, let's say if all the people in positions of power are women, so whatever ideas that they come up with, these are the that they would have to men to enforce. So when I say that patriarchy is it's a necessity, meaning that there isn't a world with law and order without men enforcing law and order. Right? So when I'm looking at the patriarchy, I'm looking at leadership positions, but then I'm also looking at enforcement. Because you don't have to. There's many people in leadership that they yield to men, right? But the same is not for women. So it's a clear distinction. Women cannot enforce anything on their own. So when you were having a conversation with Candace Owens, and just like you're having it with me today, and you're speaking about social pressure, you're speaking about influence. Oh yeah, if we influence women to do this, what they see on TV, what they even when they go to school, what we're teaching them is this indoctrination of feminism, and you should chase college and chase your career, and don't worry about a family. Hold off on the family. You can have that at your later years or whenever you find a man. If this is what we are promoting to women, then obviously there's going to be more women that are going to take that path. So they're going to get higher education. They're going to go into career fields, and they're going to be making more money. This is going to be the effects of that.
And
but
sometimes
also
they do a really good job in those fields, right? That's why women are graduating college at a higher rate now. That's why they're graduating law school at a higher rate now.
That the majority of women, when they get a job, it is not in the field with the degree that they graduated in. So they'll go ahead and get a degree in something, but they get a job in a field that has nothing to do with what they got the degree in.
Can you source that?
Yeah, I can source that and send it to you.
I don't know if I believe that on face value.
Oh yeah. That's I can go ahead and source that and bring it to you. But let me go ahead and finish my point. Of what I was saying there.
Sure.
Let me finish my point. So when we're speaking about influence, I can agree that influence will definitely have people, make certain decisions. Influence is a very powerful source, right? But it doesn't matter what decision that they're making. When we're speaking about the patriarchy and how it's necessary, you don't have to influence a man, whether if he's influenced to give women the rights or not. At the end of the day, men are the only ones that can enforce it. So that's the clear distinction, that the patriarchy is necessary. So you want women to be liberated and to have rights. Well, guess what? Under my definition of patriarchy, your definition as well, the only sex that can grant women rights are men. So it's contradictory, because it's a full contradiction. Feminism is for egalitarianism.
What's the contradiction?
The contradiction is this: feminism is for egalitarianism, for women to be equal to men, have equal rights, equal this. But they also have to appeal to men to get those rights. It's a contradiction.
That's not a contradiction.
It's a clear contradiction.
Do you believe in egalitarianism when it comes to the races? Do you believe that we should have equal rights and equal recognition under the law for, white, black, Hispanic, Asian people, etc.?
Well, race is much different than gender.
I know, but I'm giving an example to show that it's not a contradiction.
Okay, yeah, I would say, since race is different than since race is different than gender, you can't even make you can't make an accurate correlation
so you're just not gonna answer
to
the
what
question?
You're even trying to propose.
I
haven't answered the question.
No, wait, did you say yes?
I already
or no?
did answer I've already did answer the question. I said that race
it's a yes or no
is
question.
entirely different than gender. When we're speaking about race,
I know it's different.
Skin color, and
That's why it's an
basically
analogy.
to your question, when we're speaking about race and we're comparing that to women,
Right.
well, one race isn't necessarily, they don't have a full biological or physical
Can you please answer the
biological
question? It's a yes or no
advantage
question.
than women. So it's totally different.
So I know it's different. That's why it's called an analogy. An analogy is when you compare two different things.
Yeah, well, once again, I don't think that analogy
it is a yes or no question. Are you an egalitarian?
The analogy does not map on perfect.
Are you an egalitarian when it comes to race? That's the question. I haven't even made the analogy yet. I haven't even made it yet. Can you? So you're dodging. I want it to be known you are dodging the question. It's a yes or no question.
No. The answer is no.
You're not an egalitarian when it comes to race.
You want to know why? I'll explain further.
So you don't believe in equality among the races?
I'll explain further for you. It can't necessarily be equal because so if it's equal, let's go ahead and
black people rely on white people to enforce their rights.
White men in the NBA.
Do you
think it's equal?
So do you?
No, stop it.
So you believe in racial supremacy?
Do you want as many white men in the NBA as black men in the NBA?
No, I want the best.
Do you want that?
I want the best players to be. But that's not what
you want the best players.
Yeah, but that's not what egalitarianism is. Egalitarianism.
What are you speaking about? You said egalitarianism. You said you want things to be equal.
No, I did not.
You're dumb.
Are you dumb? Egalitarianism does not mean absolute equality. That is a straw man. Egalitarianism does not mean absolute 50-50 direct proportions on every.
Equalize. What are you trying to equalize?
Equal recognition under the law in equal opportunity. That's what egalitarianism is.
Okay.
So are you an egalitarian? So are you an egalitarian?
That there should be as many
white people I told you no. Now,
wait.
you haven't even let me establish this analogy. You said that you don't believe in egalitarianism when it comes to race. Let me get that straight.
Not your definition of it.
Okay, so you don't believe that the races should be equal under the law, and have equal opportunity under the law and equal recognition.
Currently, right now, the races are equal under law. So that part, I believe that races are equal under law.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have that.
But Cooley, according to your logic, black people rely on white people to enforce their rights for them. Black people in America can't collectively establish their own rights. They rely on white people to enforce their rights for them. So you just contradicted yourself according to your own logic.
That's a good thing.
But you just said that you were an egalitarian. You just said you were an egalitarian. Hold on, wait. I will demonstrate this. I will demonstrate to you so slowly for you.
Civil War was about.
Yeah. I will demonstrate to you this so slowly because
to white people in order to be freed from slavery.
You just contradicted yourself.
You sound stupid.
I will walk it to you as slow as possible so you understand.
Gentlemen,
I will walk it to you as slow as possible so you understand.
I'll walk it to you as possible.
So here's what you said. You said feminists contradict themselves because they say that they're egalitarian, but then they rely on men for rights. That's a contradiction.
No.
I asked. That is exactly what you said. Okay, great. I will clip it. I will clip it for you. I will clip it for you and run it back. I asked you what is the contradiction of feminism and rights enforcement. You said that feminists believe in egalitarianism, but they rely on men's rights for they rely on men to uphold their own rights. And then I asked you the exact same context within race. At first you said no, but then eventually when I described egalitarianism to you, you said, yes, I'm an egalitarian. And then
wrong. You are strawmanning my position.
That's fine. I'll run it back in clips. I'll run it back.
That's a straw. So, okay, let's go ahead and run it again so you can look stupid, okay? So once again, egalitarianism, which is feminism. Feminism is for the movement towards men and women being equal.
Equal recognition under the law, and this doesn't mean absolute equality. That's a straw man. I just told you that's not what egalitarianism is. Egalitarianism does not mean absolute fucking equality. Nobody in their right mind has an interpretation of egalitarianism.
Okay, fair enough. If that's what you think, so
it's not what I think. That's what it is.
Then why in the military? Why do they lower the standard? Stop it. Why do they lower the standard in the military for women to enter the military? Why do they lower the standards in police force for women to enter the police force? There's never been a woman Navy SEAL. So what they are trying to do is create a system to lower standards to allow women in. That's egalitarianism. That's the system that I am not for because men and women are not equal.
Do you think?
Get it?
So I don't believe in lowering meritocratic. I don't believe in lowering meritocratic standards either.
That's what they are doing, though. I don't care if you don't believe in it. That's what they are doing.
That's not necessary to egalitarianism. You're attacking
listen. Let me give you the argument, so then you can go ahead and try to do whatever you were trying to do. Okay, I'm for it. If you want to try to catch me, I want to be caught. This is NoFugazeePodcast. I'm going to give it to you so you can try to catch me. So once again, egalitarianism is trying to equal the genders on all fronts with giving the same opportunity to women as they do for men. But how they're doing it is the point that I disagree with. How they're doing it is they have a standard in certain positions, but they'll lower the standard to get women in. Okay. That's what they're doing. Do I want this? Am I for DEI? Diversity, equity, and inclusion? Just because I'm black, you're going to go ahead and lower standards because you want to hire some black? I am not for that either.
DEI does not mean
your entire stop it, Evan. Stop it, Evan. Stop it, Evan.
You just don't know what these terms mean.
I know. We know what they do. No, I do know what these terms mean.
Okay.
I just gave you the terms of what it means: diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Give me a DEI policy.
So what are you speaking about? So let's stop it.
Do you realize name and
we're sticking right here, Evan. We're sticking right here, Evan.
Do you realize racial and name blindness on applications is a DEI process? DEI is just increasing your applicant pool. That's not lowering the standards. You're thinking of affirmative action, which is something different, and you're thinking of quotas, which are something even different than affirmative action.
How would they increase? So if they want to be diverse, right? They want to be diverse, then how would they increase their application pool? I can give you some reasons because I worked in HR for many years, actually. So I know exactly what they would do. They would work on certain hiring practices on when they're looking at resumes to actually source out resumes, right? I worked for these companies to actually look for resumes to be inclusive, where they're looking at the off the box of what ethnicity you are. When you have to stop it. If the goal is more diverse and the HR people that's recruiting the staff forward, well, how can we be more diverse? Well, to hire the people that is diverse. So what I'm saying is they would put a blind eye to certain qualifications to meet their goal, to meet their standard. This happens all the time. This happens all the time. So let's get back to the point of egalitarianism.
Well, let's get back to the point of feminism.
I want to go back to your gotcha moment, because you wanted to have a gotcha moment, and I want to go back to egalitarianism. So I want to hear your argument again, but first you got to hear mine, because I want to see if you map it on properly. Sure. Okay? Please, Evan, do it for me. So once again, I'll state my position again. Egalitarianism, fair enough. Feminism is just a contradiction, because they are for the movement of egalitarianism, for men and women to be equal, but at the same time they have to appeal to men for their rights. So how is it equal if men ones that have to take a position to give them rights, but they can never take the same position to give men rights? Women can never take a position to grant men rights, but men, in order for women to get rights, the man has to grant the rights. The woman cannot grant rights. This is why it's contradictory. How can you be equal on one hand? So A, and it's A, but it's also B at the same time. No, it has to be one or the other. It can't be both. You get what I'm saying? That's a contradiction. That's a logical fallacy. You get what I'm saying? So can you try to map this onto race?
Yeah. So if you believe in, if you believe in egalitarianism among the races, if you believe that somebody is not less or more valuable as a person based on their racial or ethnic identity, and you believe and you don't believe in white supremacy, which would basically be a hierarchical structure of race. If you don't believe in hierarchical structures of race as being necessary and good, but you believe that that can map onto gender, then you've just contradicted yourself in your position. Because because the exact same argument can be made in the inverse. The argument can be made that
I'm waiting for you to make it.
The argument can be made that racial and ethnic minority groups rely on white people or whatever dominant ethnic or racial group to grant them their rights for them. And if that contradicts the idea of that we are all equal in our value and that we should be treated equally, if that debunks that idea, then you would have to, if it debunks that idea in the context of women and men, that it would have to debunk it in the context of race and ethnicity. But also the whole premise, but the entire premise is wrong. The entire premise is also just wrong because men do not collectively enforce rights. Men as a collective don't do any of that. It is a small, it is like 1% of like men are in the police force. It is like an incredibly small.
Can it ever be just women?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, I'm asking you, can it ever be just, can women
it doesn't matter because
rights?
You keep saying men as a collective do X, Y, and Z, and that is wrong. I need to establish that is a wrong thing. It doesn't matter whether or not men can or women can collectively do anything, because the way that rights are upheld is through a state government. That's the way adults talk.
Even if it's a small percent of police force or small percent of military, like a small portion of men, it can only be men to enforce the right. It can never be women. If it can be women, point to somewhere in history where women was the head of military and enforcing rights and upholding rights. That never happened in history at all.
Okay, well,
you got to demonstrate it then.
It doesn't matter who's enforcing rights. Like the
how
state,
does it, if we're speaking
because if we're talking about hierarchies, and who is in positions of power, the people who are commanded to enforce rights are not in positions of power. Have you ever seen like Game of Thrones? Do you think Joffrey and Cersei are in the fucking positions of power? The Mountain, the big giant dude that they command around to enforce the laws and the things that they do for him, he's not in the position of power just because he's a big strong guy. The people that are being commanded around to enforce rights are not the ones in power. Feminism is about who is in power in relationship to gender.
Okay.
And that's nothing to do with rights enforcement. It's just juvenile.
Okay. If it has nothing to do with that, then let's see. If it's the case that women were the at the helms of police force and military, if that's the case, if women was the right, can women enforce men's rights? Yes or no? And if so, how?
Can women enforce men's rights? No, because no gender collectively enforces rights. I'll say it again. It's like you're not listening.
Why is it
I know you have a
that
dialogue
men,
tree and you really want to stick to it, but it's just not working.
All right, so let me say this another way. I don't think like you're missing it, or you're just doing it because you like, I don't know, but let's say this another way. If it's the case, well, currently right now, in every society that you ever looked at, anytime you have an idea, and it's like, oh, I have an idea. I want this person to have rights, and you know what? Let's go ahead and influence people, the higher ups in government, to legislate and write this right off, to grant this right. Okay, if that right is granted, like the right of anything that you could even think about, right? Just a right. In order for this right to be a right, someone has to enforce the right. If not, then someone can just not adhere to it, and it won't be any consequences. Yes, that you gotta stop at a stoplight, right? If you don't stop at a stoplight, you get pulled over if a cop catches you, and you're gonna get a ticket. Now, if you never pay that ticket, then they're gonna send you a warrant, and after the warrant, they're going to come to your house, and it's going to be men to physically take you out of your home and put you in jail.
Could be women.
I'm asking you, as a collective, if it's the majority of women that is going to be putting people in jail for unpaid parking tickets and, running red lights and stuff like that. Let's just speak about something small, like these type of rights that we have. If it's majority of women that's going to be enforcing it, do you think that they can? Do you think that women can actually enforce these rights that we grant?
If it was like
the majority,
if it was the majority of women, or if the cops were majority women.
That's what I'm saying. If the cops was majority women,
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not in like.
Do you think men would even listen?
Maybe not in extremely like dangerous areas where there's extremely high rates of crime, but I'm pretty sure in like suburbia, nobody resists. So it doesn't really matter. Like people don't. People don't choose whether or not they're gonna like resist the police based off of whether or not they think the officer themselves is like a threatening person. That may happen in like high risk. That may happen in high risk, high crime areas. But like if you are just an average person with in a good socioeconomic standing, if you're in suburbia, your evaluation of whether or not to resist the police is not on the basis of who the officer themselves are. Usually you're just going to comply because you have no reason not to. It's usually Evan, people with low which is why I said maybe in places where there's high rates of crime, yeah, you're going to want more stronger, physically fit people, and that's going to tend to be men in like high crime rate areas. Okay. But largely where most of America is like that, like it's just like these are like fantasy things. It's like if all boys versus all girls, like what would happen? It's like, dude, that's not how rights are enforced. They're enforced by
I'm going to ask you a direct question just to see if you're consistent. Evan,
and then let's wrap it up.
Let's be honest. Okay, fair enough. Let's be honest here. Let's just see if you're logically consistent with what you just said. If you didn't agree with the law, with some law there was, and there was a woman police, would you be more likely to, go against her authority rather than the authority? Put it like this: if you're in a situation,
because they have a firearm and I don't want to fucking die. They have a firearm. I don't want to die. I don't want to have a felony on my record. So no.
No, that's not my question. I'll say it better. My bad. So what I'm asking you is, if you didn't agree with the law, meaning that you were against whatever law this was, right? Who would you be more likely to rebel against? The male officer or the female officer? That's my question. Who are you more likely to rebel against? Which authority figure? The male officer or female officer? And if it's a law that you truly disagree with, and
It's zero for both because the outcome is the same. Even if I were to get away, the outcome's the same. I got a felony on my record. I'm resisting arrest. I broke the crime anyway.
So
it's
I
not
think
going to
you're
end
being
well.
disingenuous.
It's not disingenuous. That's the fucking answer.
Here.
You just don't like the answer I'm providing. But that is that is the truth. I'm not in a position where I feel like I need to resist the police, no matter who the officer is, and whoever the officer that approaches my car. I'm not making like an evaluation assessment of like, oh, could I get away from this person? And
all right. Well, we'll do it this way. The hypothetical was just to pretty much insinuate that if it's something that you strongly disagree with, you have a strong passion against this, and you're not for whatever the cop is trying to, authorize, saying like, no, you're not able to go here, you're not able to do this. But let's just speak about the male and a woman. If you're in an altercation and you have a disagreement and it can potentially get physical, would you rather that physical altercation be with the person that's weaker or stronger?
Generally stronger. But I would, but
you would rather that.
Yeah, but preferably I would.
What? You would rather the physical altercation be with someone that's stronger than you?
You're saying I'm in the altercation.
Yeah, you're in an altercation.
Yeah, sure. If I'm in the altercation, but I wouldn't get in the altercation.
Yeah,
but if
I know that you would, and it's a hypothetical.
I know. But I mean, I think I would much rather also have somebody. Like, I would rather also have police officers that aren't going to resort to lethal force.
Yeah. I'm just getting to the root of it.
Do you think male aggression might? Do you think male aggression might lead to police officers?
Let me just land my plane. Let me just land my plane real quick, Evan. Let me just land my plane real quick. So the root of what I'm getting to is, you and I both know that when it comes down to, if you wanted to rebel against something, or if you were going to get into a physical altercation with one, and which gender would you feel like you can overpower so you don't have to adhere to their authority? You know that you would feel like you don't have to adhere to a woman's authority because she doesn't have the physical to put her will on you like how a man can. So meaning that if it came down to it,
she does if she has a firearm. It's true. I don't want to die from a fucking gun. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just going to listen to their authority.
Even if the woman has a firearm and the man has the firearm, they're not always obligated to use their firearm. Who do you think?
Well, if I'm getting in a physical altercation with them, they do.
So here's my question is, who do you think that you would be more capable to disarm the firearm from, a man or a woman?
Maybe. I don't think I'm capable of doing that to either. But
bro, it's a hypothetical.
I know. I just find it so hilarious because this is just like so off.
It's not
topic.
hilarious. It's actually
hilarious
because
it's so incredibly off topic.
If
you just want me to say yes,
are much stronger than women.
Dog, if you just want to ask that, I'm going to say men are generally physically more stronger than women. But again, that has nothing to do with fucking patriarchy. This literally has nothing
to do with it, you knucklehead. When we're speaking about men are the enforcement mechanisms, men tend to respect other men. When I walk in a room with other men, all men, we know that there's like a hidden type of rule. When you shake another man's hand, every guy in the back of their mind, you're thinking like, well, can I take this guy or can I take this guy? If it comes down to a disagreement, I may have to take this guy. You get what I'm saying? Or you get it's always like that when it comes down to males. When males meet, there's always at the back of a mind a potential physical altercation. If in case something happens, can I take him? Guess what? If me and you was in a room, you would be thinking, maybe like
among your friend group, you're like, oh, can I fight this guy? I don't think men generally do that.
It's very simple, Evan. You would never have that thought in your head. The thought would never appear in your head if you have to take another woman, though. When you meet a man, the thought may appear. In most masculine men mind, that thought appears. But I would say that it would never appear that you would be thinking like, well, if a physical altercation comes, do I think I can take this chick? No, you already know that you can take the chick. That's not even a thought that would come into your head, but that thought does come into your head when you're speaking about men.
Okay.
All right. The thing is, men have it's inherent in them, it's in their biology to enforce any type of law in order that we come up in our minds. It's a necessity. That's what I'm saying. It's necessary. But
can we get to
anyways,
closing
I guess
statements?
we can do closing statements.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so I'll just go. I don't have one.
I'll go first.
Oh,
because
wait.
you could go. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go first because you went first in the opening.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was in first.
But real quick, are you good for some questions or no? For the super chat, probably like 10 minutes or something, or nah?
Yeah, I can do 10 minutes.
All right, cool. I'll go first. So, do I even have my closing up? I think I do. 1 second here. But I guess I could just freestyle it because it really doesn't matter. So we had a debate in regards to patriarchy. Is patriarchy necessary? And is feminism good for society? I do appreciate Evan for today. And sorry about mispronouncing your name. We just have this guy that always comes up to debate, and his name is Evan.
No worries.
So we're used to saying Evan instead of Evan. But yeah, I appreciate you for joining the debate tonight. With that being said, I think that, you know, the things that you are proposing when it comes to feminism, first, when it comes to the patriarchy, you didn't make any good arguments to why the patriarchy is unnecessary. You just would grant the position and say, I think it's unnecessary. I don't think that there's any benefit for it. But then when I push forth my argument, you had no refutation to, well, it is beneficial and it is necessary because if you want any system of law and order, you need men to enforce any law and order that you construct in your mind. So any right that you construct in your mind, you need to appeal to men, whether if it's a small portion of men that's in the military or a small portion of men that's in a police force or the small portion of men that's in National Guard, whatever it may be, the majority of those that is going to enforce and uphold our rights, our constructions, and our mind, it's going to be men. This is why it's necessary for a patriarchy. And this is why it's a necessary good for a patriarchy, because women cannot uphold or enforce any rights themselves. It's only two genders, male and female, right? So if men are the only ones that can create order and give and grant laws, then guess what? It has to be good, because without law and order, the society turns into anarchy. When we're speaking about feminism, you gave some arguments in regards to feminism. You said that, well, the nuclear family is bad. You gave some stats on how the nuclear family isn't necessarily good for society, but then I refuted all of those by stating many factual things that, wait, what? If the nuclear family isn't good, this is why, if the nuclear family is bad, this makes sense to why we have rate, which is why we're under replacement level. This makes clear to why women are aborting 1 million babies per year. It's clear evidence to you believing that, you know, the nuclear family is bad and feminism is good, because single mother rates are at an all-time high. Juvenile delinquency is at an all-time high. It's more high incarceration rates when it comes to children. All of these figures, when it speaks about the good of society, you to the nuclear family, which actually encourages and would actually bring those rates much down. Then when we speak about egalitarianism, you tried to make an argument that you said that, well, if you believe in egalitarianism for gender, then it's the same as race. You failed at that. I gave you 3 chances and you failed many times to make a direct correlation to how egalitarianism for gender is the same as egalitarianism for race. It just didn't work. With that being said, I guess that would conclude my closing. Do I have any minutes left or no, Tyga?
You got about 50 seconds.
50 seconds. And once again, I would just like to conclude with, Evan, James, thank you for coming out and joining me in this spirited debate. No hard feelings, man. It's just a debate.
No, yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so I think that the pop philosophy force doctrine narrative, there's a reason why I think these sort of red pill debater types love to exist within this realm, because as soon as you actually get into empirics, it's very clear that more egalitarian feminist societies on average do better when it comes to, once again, human happiness, so life satisfaction when it's plotted, economic development, desired health outcomes, that means both maternal health outcomes and health outcomes for the children as a whole, and relationship satisfaction, meaning that couples with more egalitarian attitudes on who's going to do the more housework fare off better with less rates of divorce. Also, couples that fare better in terms of less rates of divorce are, yes, college-educated women, number one. Number two, people who put off marriage until they're at the age of 30, which is to say that if you abstain from marriage and don't center it and center starting a family as soon as you get out of high school, you are less likely to get divorced. So, yeah, I think the prescriptions are very clear in terms of what exactly is more beneficial for society on metrics that we would all agree with. And then in terms of the force doctrine pop philosophy argument, you know, it absolutely has nothing to do with what patriarchy is. The enforcement mechanism for rights is going to be through an organized state response, and that's in our case is going to be the police and the military, as Cooley's noted. But semantically, they'll consistently say, well, men are doing X, Y, and Z. No, it's a small collection of our society that comprises both men and women. And yes, majority of them are men, because overwhelmingly we're going to want strong people to fulfill that role. But it's not men as a collective, and it really has nothing to do with what patriarchy is. When people talk about what patriarchy is, they're talking about the centering men in positions of power, in economic and political positions of power, and also the dynamics between men and women, right? So men are often afforded and seen as being needing to afford more robust autonomy over their lives, whereas women's social role is relegated entirely to the family and to her husband. Dismantling that idea empirically is shown to be more beneficial for societies, and intuitively we know that this all makes sense. Think of more rigid patriarchal societies. We brought up Afghanistan. That is not a society that people want to live in. Even within Afghanistan itself, we wouldn't want to exist in a more patriarchal Afghanistan under Taliban rule. We'd want to live under a less patriarchal system, and where women aren't being oppressed and having their autonomy stripped away from them. Human happiness, the flourishing of peoples broadly, is going to come with the precondition of autonomy. Feminism advocates for that, and once again, I think there's a reason why as soon as you get into the empirics, the argument tends to run away, and we get more into the pop philosophy stuff. That's it.
Nice.
All right. So can you read the super chat, Steiger? Do you have it on your end?
I mean, I'm not sure. I've had the private chat pulled up this whole time, but
okay, I could go ahead and read them real quick. We got a few of them, not a lot, but I'll go ahead and get to it. And if anyone else wants to support the channel by sending in a super chat, if you want to go ahead and ask myself or Evan a question in regards to this debate, you can go ahead and send in your donations now. All right, so shouts out to Mikey Smokes, welcome to Hitman. Shout out to Leon Shorts, welcome to the gang. And also Papa Chuck, welcome to the gang, all the members. Appreciate the support. We got Glenn Lawrence Presents, sends in $20. Throughout history, all we have has been a patriarchal society, and there will always be a patriarchal society. We need the hierarchy to defend our people, which is only found in a patriarchal society. Okay, that wasn't a question, just a statement. All right, fair enough. Anything you want to say to that, Evan, or no?
I mean, we've always existed in a society where there's murder, rape, violence, stuff like that. Just because we've existed in something for all of human history doesn't mean it's bad or that we shouldn't work to dismantle it.
Okay, and then my argument. Okay, well, a quick response to that, then, Evan. If we work to dismantle the patriarchy, which this would be men enforcing rights. You say that, well, it's not men enforcing rights. You're saying that it's a small population of men that go into certain fields like military and protection,
Right, and
that's enforcing rights.
Sure, but that's nothing to do with patriarchy. Wait, would you agree? Agree once again? I know I asked this earlier.
Yeah,
I may have forgotten your response. If women held every position within the legislature, the executive, and judicial branches of our government, everything from the national, states to local levels, but men were a part of the police force, you still think that would be a patriarchy because they're doing enforcing?
So even if women are at the helms of power, right? In order for them to get any rights enforced and uphold any rights, they would have to appeal to men. They cannot appeal to women.
So your answer to my question is yes? You think that would still be a patriarchy?
Well, yeah, it would still be a patriarchy because men are the ones that would have to enforce the right. Now, the thing
is, an entirely women, female made up government would still be a patriarchy to you? Are you serious?
Yeah, when you're having this discussion and you're speaking about, this is the conversation that you had with Candace Owens. I don't think that it can never be a matriarchy. It can only be a matriarchy in the mind. In the mind, it can be a matriarchy.
So not in the mind,
so women,
but in reality, if women held every single position of political and of power, you would still say it's still a patriarchy? That is such an absurd position. It is
not, Evan. It is not.
It is so laughable. It is insane.
Can I explain or no?
You think if they were sure, but it's just like it's actually blowing my mind. You actually
I'll explain for you and let me know if you can understand this. Even if women are in a position, anything that they come up with their mind, the only way for it to become reality would have to be backed by men. Men would have to enforce it. But the same isn't for women. Women can never enforce their own rights. So if there's women in position of power, they can't appeal to women to enforce it. So what I'm saying that it can only be a matriarchy in the mind, not in physical material reality. It always resorts back to men in any right that you construct in your mind. So it's always patriarchal. It can only be matriarchal in the mind. This is what I'm saying. So in reality, stop it, Evan. Do you understand that, yes or no? I made a clear distinction. Do you understand?
I understand your argument.
Okay.
I do understand your argument.
Can you refute that argument, yes or no? Can you refute that argument? Instead of laughable, can you refute it? Give me any refutation for that.
It's definitionally not what patriarchy is. Definitionally, if women held all positions of political power,
under my definition, it is. This is what I said in my opening.
Okay, well then that's a semantic. Then that's just a semantic disagreement. You can make up your own definition, but that's not what sociologists understand patriarchy to be. If women held every single position of political power, if they held the entirety of the executive branch, the entirety of the judicial branch, if they interpreted and created all of the laws, you think just because they command around men to enforce it, you think that still makes it a patriarchy? That is so fucking stupid. That is so stupid.
The reality
People
is this,
you command around to enforce things for you are not in power. The servants of a king are not in power because theoretically they could all overpower him. Just because power exists socially when people recognize it as such. So if women are recognized in the positions of political power, they have the power. And if men are listening to those women, then the women are in the positions of power. And just because theoretically, if it was boys versus girls, the boys would win. That's not what patriarchy versus matriarchy is. That's a juvenile understanding of what those terms mean.
No, it's not a juvenile understanding. You're actually proving my point.
You're
You just
literally doing if boys versus
versus
girls. That's
then you
literally
said that,
what your argument
no,
is.
you just concluded, then you said that if women construct any type of rights or anything in their mind, it's a position of power. What I'm refuting is.
Did you listen?
You said that if women, you said that if women took positions of power where they're in the government and they can
our entire society recognized it as such.
And our society and the men that can enforce it recognizes that?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
The men in the society.
That's how power
recognize that.
works. Is people recognizing.
No,
it.
listen.
You understand? Like that's how social.
This
This is how social power works. Like right. Like Taylor Swift doesn't literally. Her voice isn't literally louder than people.
Evan,
she has
social
power
because
she has social power because she's really famous.
Stop the prattle and let me explain it real quick so we can get to the next super chat.
The way that people recognize power, that's how power works. It's whether or not people recognize it. It's not about brute force.
Got it. And you just proved my point because you just said women are in positions of power and men recognize this position of power, meaning that it's a construction of the mind. These positions are a construction of the mind.
Power is
Let me
our
just finish my
social
point. Let me finish the point. Just you're not listening. You're listening to respond, but you're not listening to like understand. Right?
I've heard all of these arguments before. I understand them. They're just fucking dumb. I don't think
you do because you're not getting it. I mean, you're not getting it, and you're saying that I'm dumb. I think you're dumb.
I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm saying the argument is dumb.
The entire debate was about it.
I'm saying the argument is dumb. I didn't say
you explained the argument perfectly. Just chill for, give me 10 seconds to speak. Actually, more than 10 seconds because I need to elaborate. But essentially, you're saying that women are in positions of power, and the men that can enforce whatever they construct in their mind recognizes that, right? So I said that a matriarchy is a construction of the mind. It can be constructed into a woman's mind, and it can be constructed into a man's mind. But the real power is not the people with the ideas. The is with the people that can enforce the ideas. So these women in position of power have to appeal to men to enforce their ideas, but it is not the same around. Men never, ever, ever, ever have to appeal to women to enforce their ideas. Women can't enforce nothing. They can't enforce it. That's what we're speaking about. And the patriarchy, when I'm saying that, well, it's only men that can enforce these rights and create law and order, actually create it, construct it, not just to a mind, but into physical reality. It's going to be men. So you cannot ever get rid of the patriarchy because the real power is within you. You don't even know where your power even lies, Evan. Just speaking stupid. The real power is always within men. Whether if you influence a sector of men to believe something, or they believe something stupid or something good or bad, in order for it to be enforced, the good or the bad, it's still going to come from men. So the patriarchy is necessary. You live it. That's what I'm saying. You just proved my point for me. It's that simple. When we're speaking about force doctrine,
you can call it in the mind, but brute force is nothing without ideology. Brute force is nothing without ideology and organization. And if the ideology and organization that controls the brute force is being held by women, that means women are in power, definitionally. That is the case. It doesn't matter who has brute force. It doesn't matter if the men recognize the power that they have, then it materializes. It materializes when people recognize it.
Okay, let me make a clear distinction for you. The clear distinction is this: women can never. So if men have an idea and men enforce their rights, women can never collectively try to take away men's rights. They can never do it collectively.
Boys versus girls argument. I'm so sick of it. Can we
it's
just
not
do
a boys versus girls
That is literally your hypothetical. If it was boys versus girls,
true.
dude, it's just so juvenile, dude. We're not in middle school anymore. Come on.
What you're saying, this is the fact, because it is, like you just said. You gave a hypothetical. Hypothetically, if women was in position of power, all of positions of power, and
right. My hypotheticals to test your logic.
No, stop it. The reason why, listen, no, your hypotheticals, you even gave that specific hypothetical that there's women in position of power and there's men to enforce it, and not women in position of power and women to enforce it, because you know that women can't enforce their own rights, which means that you're always appealing back to men to enforce whatever type of idea that they have, which is patriarchal. It can only be matriarchal of the mind. Other men enforcing things that women want. We call them simps. Are you going to be listening? Oh, well, yeah, I'm going to take girl trips with my friends, but you have to stay home and just chill. Okay, honey, you can take girlfriends with your friends. with your friends and I'll just stay at home and chill. That's what simps do. They appeal to the women's thinking and to the woman's way. That happens all the time. You're probably in a simp relationship yourself. There's many simps out there that appeal to their women. Guess what? What'd you say? Still a womanese?
I said
and this guy over here. Oh, you single ladies. I don't think we got much ladies watching it, but maybe on your side.
You don't want any women in this chat.
They're watching me.
Okay, let me get to the next super chat so we can. And it's not much of it, but let me get to the next super chat, man. You suffer. I don't think you get it, but maybe if you watch it back, you'll understand. Because I do have a different take on the standard, like the Candace Owens conversation you had. She was like, "We live in a matriarchy." Wait, you got to elaborate on that. A matriarchy? No, there's not any women enforcing any rights. There's just matriarchy in the mind. There's people have these social constructs in their mind, and then they can indoctrinate men to believe what they believe in, but men still have to enforce it. That's just dumb. So the next super chat is Glenn Lawrence presents as $10. Does he not realize how many friendly fire incidents that have been caused at the hands of, I guess that was towards you when we were having that, police discussion?
Sure. I mean,
I don't know. So do you not realize that there's been many incidents where women
Sure, maybe there are. I don't think that in any way defeats the premise that I was making. I can concede that like men on average are probably going to be more well suited to combat roles. That doesn't defeat the argument. I'm not going to rehash it a million times, but like these combat roles.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll get to the next chat. Fair enough. You don't have to reply to it if you don't want. Some of them are going to be for you. We only got 4 more. We got Glenn Lawrence presents as $10. He says, let's also factor the fight, flight, or freeze feature that we know that women tend to freeze more in these moments than men do, which leads to unnecessary deaths. So he's speaking about when a cop is in an altercation, women tend to freeze instead of, acting out logically and defending themselves or defending whatever it may be. Any rebuttal to that or no?
No, I mean, again, I can even if any of these like things are true, I can concede to it. It just has nothing to do with patriarchy. But I will say that I don't think
patriarchy,
so.
Man.
I know that you believe that.
So real quick, Evan,
we're gonna argue.
Evan, what's your definition of patriarchy then?
I told you, when men hold the dominance in economic, political, and social positions of power. But okay. Also, moreover, I just want to say that's it.
There's nothing else.
Like that's like the most simple definition. Patriarchy, from a historical perspective, is also going to be like men's dominion over women. It's going to be like women's attitudes and being socially reared to like sort of the favors of men and just towards family, whereas men have more of an autonomous upbringing. Like there's gonna be we can do a more like in-depth sociological analysis of what patriarchy has been throughout history, but like my simple definition is that thing. But I just want to say total speculation, but I would probably bet that men, even if like physical altercations, maybe women are less suited for those sorts of situations, I bet men are more likely to basically jump into physical altercations that didn't need to be such, right? So like using overly aggressive force or lethal force in situations that didn't need it, right? Like usually when we're watching these videos of over force within like the police force, usually it's
over aggressive.
Yeah. Not that it's never done by women, but I mean, but that's just speculation, like I said. So
yeah, and you know what? I can make a concession to that. Men can wield their physical nature in a more aggressive way and act out overly aggressive when it's times where they don't need to. Since you conceded to the other point, but it doesn't refute the entire argument that, well, when you need to uphold a law and uphold a right, like you need to uphold rights, since men are the aggressors and they're physically stronger, they're going to be the one that's more capable to enforce rights. Women can't enforce their own rights. It just won't happen. You get what I'm saying? So that's the distinction there. But okay, we got Wicked Dreams sends in $10. How can there ever be a egalitarianism? How can there ever be egalitarianism between sexes when men hold control over force doctrine? Patriarchy is what stops bad men from taking over. Yeah, I think we pretty much hashed that out already.
Right, yeah. And I would also say egalitarianism does exist. Like there are societies that are incredibly egalitarian, even relative to our own nation. So it's not that like this isn't a theoretic.
Yeah, they can be, all inclusive and egalitarian, but their military and their police force, the majority is still men.
Usually they don't have to use it if they have a robust social safety net and good economic policy and good foreign policy as well. But like again, that just has nothing to do with patriarchy.
Well, no, I mean we see this.
I don't think
it does have everything to do with the patriarchy.
And like the enforcement of rights and political rights just does not have anything to do with patriarchy, dude. It does not.
Well, once again, your definition. Even if we use your definition that men are in positions of power, so these men are the ones that's actually, there's more men constructing ideas in their mind, and they need those ideas enforced. Even if we use that, it still all goes back down to force, because you can't, in order to have law and order, you actually need a man. You need men to enforce it. You can't have women to enforce it. So any society void of men enforcing rights, well, there aren't going to be any rights if women got to uphold it and enforce it, because other men is just going to not adhere to it. Smack these little chicks around. Get out of here. I don't care about that ticket. Shut up, woman. That's what it's going to be like. So, if that isn't true, then please point somewhere where the majority of the military or the police force are women. But it hasn't ever been in history. So this is why it's necessary. But we got Wicked Dreams sends in $10. Can you tell how YouTube super chat's always coming funny?
Wait,
Can you tell me how when?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
What'd you say?
I didn't mean to interrupt. It glitched out for a second, so I just didn't hear you.
Okay, all good. It says, Wicked Dream says, can you tell me how when all women are in control, how they will stop a group of men from doing what they want without asking another man to help, or without asking other men to help? That's to you.
Yeah, I think usually you're going to ask stronger people, and that's probably going to tend to be men. Again, has literally nothing to do with feminism. If you're in, like, these fight or flight situations exist in such a minute vacuum. It's like such a little part of the way that we organize society. Like the way that, like, think about your day-to-day life. How often are you in, like, physical altercations? Like most people.
The reason
why we aren't has nothing to do with patriarchy. Like places that are extremely patriarchal are extremely violent.
I didn't even give you my reason.
But because of socioeconomic reasons. So it's usually socioeconomic reasons. So day to day, like what we what we think of, what we think of when it comes to like power, right? Power can mean everything from like your treatment, you're being treated more seriously in the workplace, right? Just because you're assumed to be more competent because you're a man. Like that is a more applicable and relevant way of addressing patriarchy, feminism, social roles, and expectations. This whole stuff of like, well, if you're in fight or flight, this is why poor countries that are in more war-torn areas are probably going to be more patriarchal. That's fine. That just means that, once again, feminism is a sign of development.
Yeah. So, I mean, to your question, you said that are people just acting out all crazy, just out of nowhere, and not adhering to the law? You said, well, yeah, that happened in lower social economic places, you know, and I could agree to that. Normally, where there's more poverty, there's a little bit more violence, but it doesn't negate the fact that the reason why we do not see a society where there's people just acting out and breaking the laws and stuff is because we've created a safe environment. Men created a safe environment that there's going to be, people know that there's consequences if you break the law. There's consequences, meaning that, like, if there was consequences, but a woman was going to come in and enforce those consequences, it's like, I'm going to keep on breaking the law. But we know that there's men that's going to come and enforce the law and give us consequences. So we're less likely to act out and break those laws. This is why we can only compare men and women. So when we're speaking about a patriarchy, I know you like to say, well, it's only, you know, people in positions of power. That's a definition that clearly doesn't even, if you Google patriarchy, it's of the father. It's patrilineal. It's of the father. So it's men, and then the next person in line is his son, and then when that person gets older, the next person in leadership is his son. It's all patrilineal. It's of the father. Men enforcing rights and being in leadership positions.
Physical force.
So it's not just leadership; it's enforcing. Go ahead.
Sure, but physical enforcement has actually very little to do with deterrence for crime. Think of violent crime.
The threat.
Yeah, even that, because states, some of the nations with like the lowest rates of violent crime have a completely demilitarized police force, right? Some of the nations with the highest crime are usually there's actually the inverse correlation. Usually nations, states, cities, and localities have more militarized police forces when there is high crime, but it doesn't resolve the issue, right? Having force and the threat of force and making that threat of force even bigger than it normally should be doesn't do a great job at deterring crime. Once again, it's very socioeconomic, and that doesn't just mean poverty. That also means like the opportunities and the society around you. So if the society around you is very dangerous, you're more likely to engage in more dangerous means of acquiring an income and survival.
I get that. Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. And I'm not saying that like might makes right. That's not my argument.
I know, but I'm just saying like even deterrence.
Might. Well, what I'm saying is, well, yeah, because might makes. Because if it is a situation, if someone breaks the law, who's going to be more capable to lock them up? It's going to be policemen. It's going to be policemen, not police women. And then it's going to be, well, then you have to lock them up. You have to keep them in a jail. And which gender is going to be the officers to keep those men in jail? Like the COs and all of that. It's going to be men. It's not going to be women COs and all that. To keep men behind bars and all of this other stuff. No, it's going to be other men to lock them up and to keep them locked up. So if they break the law, we know that might doesn't make right, but at least it makes where you can at least have some order. You can't have any order if there's women, because niggas don't respect women. Ain't nobody respecting no chick. We don't physically respect her. Physically, she gets no respect. That's all I'm saying. Next chat, we got and two more. We got scabe over swollen lymph nodes. Okay. Since five are in power, then they have power. Okay. So what happens when men decide, no, you don't? Now what could women do about it? Okay. So essentially saying if women are in power,
he's essentially saying if it was boys versus girls, who would win? Once again, the juvenile arguments. It's never going to be boys versus girls. That's not the way society functions. Let's live in fucking reality.
That right now,
it's not like that right now. It is not boys versus girls.
It to you. Let's just say
we're not
boys versus girls.
Yeah, that is literally the argument you guys use. If it was boys versus girls, who would win?
Well,
it's so ridiculous and juvenile on its face. Like, I don't care. Okay, boys would win.
No, I don't think a man is a boy, and I don't think a woman is a girl. I think that a
obviously
boy,
I'm using those terms.
He matures into a man.
Obviously, I'm using that phrase as a pejorative to describe the kind of argument you guys are using. But that's
okay. Well, even if we I'll grant it to you. Let's just grant it. We live it. We've always lived it. We haven't lived anything else, and it's never versus, because these boys, like you say, protect girls. So it's not a versus thing. Without a patriarchy, it would be the Taliban. Like, think about it. Over in the Taliban, we were protecting, when our military was over there, we were protecting them from other men. We were protecting their women from other men. Once we left, guess what? They had no protection from those other men, because women cannot protect themselves. So it's inherent. It's necessary for a
Sometimes
patriarchy.
Men can't protect themselves too. It requires more things than this. Like, think about the 75-year ongoing occupation and settler colonialism engaging in Palestine. Palestinian men are still Palestinian men are still being subjugated by Israeli men because they have
other men.
Because
sure, it's always going to be by men. That's the reality.
But the point is that it's not boys versus girls. It's not boys versus girls. That's the point.
The reality of force doctrine, it always results back down to men enforcing all. It always resorts. It can never be women. Okay. That's the reality of it, man. And you haven't refuted that reality. You just keep moving the goalposts. But all right, last super chat we got same guy. He says, dude, the threat of enforcement is the only deterrent. What the F are you talking about? No enforcement, no laws, no safety. Might makes. Okay, that was back to you. All right, fair enough. All right. Good debate, Evan. I'll leave you with the last words. Anything you want to go ahead and shout out? Anything you got going on, man?
Yeah. I mean, again, find me on socials, Evan JMEZ. It's funny. I just saw like a couple of, I would assume your followers came into my chat because I only have like a few viewers. I just started streaming, but I just think
listen, man, you're getting your viewers up there, man.
I know, but
getting your viewers up.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's really cute.
Were they trolling you? They're trolling you?
Well, there's just like one or two. But I just think it's like really cute because it's like, oh, you.
Hey, everybody in the chat, be nice, man. We don't.
No, I don't take it personal.
You can troll a little bit, make some jokes, but be nice. Don't.
No, I don't.
Don't make any crazy threats or anything like that. It's just a debate.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely don't care. All right, yeah, great. It was super fun.
Hey, yeah, they've been trolling me too, right? They've been trolling me in the chat all night. Like,
they troll me too, bro. The chat.
Yeah,
it's the chat.
Okay. All right. Well, great debate. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Appreciate you, man. Have a blessed one.
Yep, you as well. Oh boy. Well, that was fun. JK. No, it was fun for a bit, but it got real boring real quick. I knew exactly the kind of argument that was going to be had. And it's just fucking boring, dude. Like, the force doctrine bullshit is so boring. It is so boring. All right. Well, if you stuck around, I do appreciate it. I'm heading off. Adios.